Imagine bringing together 1,000 people in their 60s and 70s. They have already lived through promotions, layoffs, mortgages, market crashes, and years when money felt tight. Now ask them one question: what financial decision do you wish you had handled differently? Most people expect answers about missing a winning stock, choosing the wrong fund, or selling at the wrong moment. But older adults usually describe something more personal: lost time, reduced freedom, unnecessary pressure, and important moments that never happened. That is what makes this conversation valuable for anyone in their 30s or 40s. You still have time to change direction. We are going through 8 common financial regrets people carry into later life. As you listen, ask whether your current habits are quietly pushing you toward one of them. The first regret is waiting too long to begin investing. Across surveys from Bankrate and Northwestern Mutual, one answer appears repeatedly: people wish they had started saving and investing earlier. Notice what they are not saying. They usually do not say they wish they had bought one particular company. They say they wish they had given their money more time. Consider 2 investors. Alfred begins investing $500 every month at age 25. He continues for only 10 years, stops at age 35, and never contributes again. His total contribution is $60,000. Benjamin waits until age 35, then invests the same $500 every month for 30 years. He contributes $180,000, which is 3 times as much. Using a historical average return of 10% per year before inflation, Alfred could reach approximately $1.8 million by age 65. Benjamin could reach roughly $1.1 million. These are illustrations, not guaranteed outcomes, but the lesson is clear. Benjamin invested far more and still could not recover the decade he lost. Starting early matters more than looking clever. Time gives compounding room to do the heavy work. Starting late forces you to save more, take greater risk, delay retirement, or lower your future expectations. The regret is not simply, "I should have invested more." It is, "I wasted years that money could have been working for me." The second regret is allowing every pay raise to become a lifestyle upgrade. People adapt quickly to a better standard of living. A nicer car or larger home feels exciting for a while. More expensive restaurants, upgraded vacations, and premium subscriptions create a temporary lift. Then the upgrade becomes normal, but the expense remains. Lifestyle inflation rarely arrives as one reckless decision. It arrives in small, reasonable-looking steps. You earn more, so you spend a little more. You work hard, so you reward yourself. You can technically afford the payment, so you accept it. Each choice looks harmless, but together they can consume every increase in income you receive. The average new car now sells for close to $50,000, and many buyers stretch the loan across 72 months. That means people are financing a rapidly depreciating asset for 6 years. Add upgraded housing, food delivery, subscriptions, travel, and shopping, and a higher salary can produce almost no increase in actual wealth. The useful rule is simple. You can choose almost anything, but you cannot choose everything. Every dollar used to permanently raise your lifestyle is a dollar that cannot be invested, used to reduce debt, or saved to buy back your time. The later regret is not that people could not afford more. It is that they repeatedly chose short-term upgrades instead of long-term flexibility. Comment below with the lifestyle expense that has increased the most for you over the last few years. Naming it honestly is often the first step toward controlling it. The third regret is buying more house than life actually required. A large home is often treated as proof of success. People celebrate the bigger kitchen, extra rooms, impressive neighborhood, and larger yard. What receives less attention is the amount of life that must be exchanged to support that house. Most buyers focus on the mortgage payment, but ownership includes far more than principal and interest. A common maintenance estimate is between 1% and 4% of a home's value per year. On a $900,000 property, even 1% equals $9,000 annually. At 2%, the cost is $18,000 per year. Over 20 years, that reaches $360,000 before property taxes, insurance, utilities, renovations, or homeowners association fees. A home can increase net worth, but home equity does not automatically pay monthly expenses. Americans between ages 65 and 74 have a median net worth of roughly $410,000, and around $250,000 of that may be tied up in home equity. For many retirees, the house is their largest asset, while their liquid retirement accounts are much smaller. The home may look like wealth on paper, but it can still leave the owner short on usable income. A dream home can delay the freedom that was supposed to make it worthwhile. The smarter question is not what is the maximum house the bank will approve. It is, how much future income and flexibility am I willing to give this property? The fourth regret is confusing emotional comfort with financial safety. Many people become so afraid of market losses that they keep excessive amounts of money in cash or sell during a crash and never return. The decision feels responsible because the account balance stops moving. But stability on a statement is not the same as protection from long-term risk. Over long periods, the United States stock market has historically averaged around 10% annually before inflation. Cash has generally earned far less and often struggles to keep pace with rising prices. If $100,000 grows at 2% for 30 years, it becomes approximately $181,000. At 10%, the same amount grows to about $1.74 million. Markets do not deliver smooth or guaranteed returns. There will be crashes, bad years, and frightening headlines. The point is not that everyone should take maximum risk. The point is that avoiding all volatility creates another danger. Your money may fail to grow enough to support you later. At age 35, moving everything into cash may feel safe because you avoid temporary losses. But you may be replacing market risk with inflation risk, longevity risk, and the risk of not having enough. The safest-looking choice can become the most expensive mistake when repeated for decades. The fifth regret is continuing to work long after the money was already sufficient. Financial media constantly warns people that they are behind. Some caution is useful, but it can create a belief that retirement is never secure enough. A person runs the numbers at 60 and decides to work until 65. At 65, uncertainty still exists, so the target moves to 67. Then 67 becomes 70 because one more year always makes the spreadsheet look stronger. This is often called one more year syndrome. Retirement research from firms such as Fidelity and JP Morgan has repeatedly shown that many retirees spend less than financial models predict. Spending often declines as people age, apart from healthcare costs that may rise later. That means some people work additional years to fund a lifestyle they never actually live. Their portfolio grows, but their healthy and energetic years shrink. The spreadsheet improves while the calendar becomes less forgiving. There is nothing wrong with working longer when the work is meaningful or the money is genuinely necessary. The regret begins when fear keeps someone employed even after the numbers are reasonable. Money can be earned again. A healthy year at age 62 cannot be repurchased at age 78. The sixth regret is remaining in a job that made everyday life miserable. This is related to working too long, but it is not identical. One regret is about staying for additional money. The other is about accepting years of frustration because leaving feels financially dangerous. Gallup's workplace research has consistently found that a large share of employees are either not engaged or actively disengaged. Many people remain in jobs they dislike because of a pension, health insurance, a high salary, or fear that they will not find something comparable. These benefits become golden handcuffs, valuable enough to prevent movement, but not valuable enough to make the years enjoyable. Someone who works from age 25 to 65 spends roughly 40 years in the workforce. At 40 hours a week with 2 weeks of vacation, that is around 80,000 working hours. That is an enormous portion of adulthood. The lesson is not to quit irresponsibly. It is to stop pretending that money is the only cost being paid. Stress, poor health, damaged relationships, and lost confidence are also expenses. A job that pays well but destroys every evening and weekend may be far more expensive than it appears. If this video is helping you think differently about money, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone facing a major career or financial decision. These conversations matter most before the regret becomes permanent. The seventh regret is waiting too long to help children or family members. Traditional estate planning often focuses on leaving money after death. But many parents later realize that assistance may have created more value earlier, while they were still alive to see the result. Think about the difference between receiving help at age 35 and receiving the same amount at age 65. At 35, someone may be raising children, paying for childcare, managing student loans, and trying to buy a first home. In many markets, childcare alone can cost $2,000 or $3,000 per month. First-time homebuyer ages have also risen because reaching financial stability takes longer. At 65, the recipient may already own a home, have grown children, and be approaching retirement. The money is still useful, but it may no longer be transformational. This does not mean parents should damage their own retirement to rescue adult children. Helping irresponsibly can create two financial problems instead of solving one. The regret appears when someone clearly had the means and desire to help, but delayed automatically because inheritance was treated as something that could only happen after death. Support can take forms other than a large cash gift. It might mean helping with education, contributing toward a down payment, paying for childcare during a difficult period, or teaching financial skills early. Legacy is not only what remains after you are gone. It is also the impact you are able to witness while you are here. The eighth regret is allowing unresolved money problems to damage a marriage. Divorce can become one of the most expensive events in a person's life. One household becomes two. Housing costs increase. Legal fees can reach tens of thousands of dollars. Retirement accounts may be divided, property may be sold, and years of financial progress can be interrupted. But the deeper lesson is not simply that divorce costs money. It is that financial conflict often grows quietly before the relationship reaches a breaking point. Debt, secret spending, unequal financial responsibility, different attitudes toward saving, and anxiety about the future can enter almost every conversation inside a home. These problems rarely explode on the first day. They build slowly through avoidance, resentment, and poor communication. Then one major event makes the damage visible all at once. No one should remain in an unsafe or deeply harmful marriage just to protect money. That would be terrible advice. The useful lesson is to discuss financial values early, communicate before problems become emergencies, and treat money disagreements as relationship issues rather than simple math problems. A budget cannot repair a lack of trust, but honest financial communication can stop many small conflicts from becoming permanent divisions. When we place all 8 regrets together, a pattern becomes obvious. Starting late costs compounding time. Lifestyle inflation costs flexibility. Buying too much house costs freedom. Excessive caution costs growth. Working too long costs healthy years. Staying in a hated job costs fulfillment. Helping family too late costs visible impact. Divorce can cost wealth, stability, and time. Only part of this list is about money. Most of it is about what money either allowed or prevented. Money is not the final goal. It is a tool used to create choices. It can give you the ability to leave work, support people you love, protect your health, and spend your limited time more intentionally. But when money becomes a scoreboard, a source of fear, or an excuse to delay living, it stops serving you. A healthy 65-year-old may still have another 25 or 30 years ahead. That is meaningful, but the condition of those years will be influenced by decisions made much earlier. The habits built in your 30s and 40s determine whether later life feels flexible or restricted, secure or anxious, fulfilled or full of unfinished plans. So ask yourself one serious question. If your future self could watch how you're using money today, which decision would concern them most? Write your answer in the comments. Your response may help another person recognize a mistake they have been avoiding. Subscribe for more practical financial conversations based on real decisions, not empty motivation, and share this video with someone who still has time to change course. The best financial regret is the one you understand early enough to prevent.